There's going to be a lot of cuts in this video.
Oh, absolutely. There's going to be a lot of cuts. Wait.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Random Onion. And for today's video, we are going to be talking monsters.
Yes. Big, small, scary, whatever you're thinking, monsters.
When you think movie monster, what's the first monster that comes to mind?
Well, the first monster that comes to my mind is, of course, probably Godzilla, even though I don't really watch him that much.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Godzilla is the pinnacle of the genre, especially when it comes to like kaiju movies and whatnot.
Something that I really appreciate, and I brought it up a couple times in some of the videos about monsters, is especially when you have a big monster, it's so important to me that that monster has weight. I want something that's big to have weight, to feel like it can, like whatever it's doing is actually going to take effect, which is why I love Pacific Rim so much, because I feel like every big thing in that movie has real weight to it, and is why I hate Godzilla King of Monsters, because they play around with it a little bit. Like there's the scene with Rodan where he first shows up and he can fly over a town and destroy everything, and then he's getting into a dogfight with fucking helicopters and flying around and doing barrel rolls and shit.
That's just inconsistent writing.
I hated that fucking movie. It pissed me off so much.
But yeah, Godzilla is really like, he's the pinnacle of the kaiju genre of monsters. That being said, not really scary.
No.
It's Halloween time. We want to kind of talk about more like horror related monsters. That being said, if I had to do a monster movie list, or not monster movie, like a movie monster list, Godzilla would undoubtedly be the number one. Like without question.
Yeah.
In your mind, like, what is the scariest monster that you think you can think of from any type of horror-related content?
The thing is, it's such a broad question.
Yeah.
Is what I would find the scary. Because with monsters, it's weird for me. It's hard for me to find monsters scary. I guess when I think of a monster movie, when I think of monsters, I think of something that's going to, like, existential horror, some kind of, like an instance where you feel like you can't possibly get out of the situation that you're stuck in. One thing that I would think that actually just popped in my head was Cloverfield.
Yes.
Yes, because it's a found footage movie, and throughout the entire movie, you just feel like, oh, there's nothing you can really do with this monster besides run.
It makes you feel small. There's, like, a few different kinds of monsters. You have your... you have like kaiju, obviously, and some of these other monsters can fall into kaiju, kind of. You've got your more body horror-esque monsters like The Thing and Slither, whatnot. They're more like kind of grotesque, gross. You've also got your existential crisis threat monsters like say Cthulhu, anything from that Lovecraftian mythos. You have like your more sci-fi monsters, which are like the xenomorphs, Predator, and then you have your more like supernatural related stuff, like Dracula. And Dracula is like one of my favorite movie monsters ever. I don't know if you've read the original book.
I haven't, but it's one that I probably should.
Yeah, I didn't exactly read the book, but I listened to it. You know, it's really good. Weirdly enough, you know, you see all these vampire movies, and you know they talk about like vampires in the sunlight and whatnot. Dracula actually walks in the daytime in the books. Like it does not affected by the sun at all.
Well, they do that in Blade as well. The vampires walk in the sun. They just wear really strong sunblock.
Well, Dracula in Blade just kind of walks around in the sun.
Yeah. Actually, I'd say, like with existential horror, one movie monster that would always come to my mind is going to be Pennywise from It.
Hiya, Georgie. What a nice boat. Do you want it back?
I could see that, yeah.
Because it's a monster that is it's hunting you down, and in the remakes, it's like legitimately just trying to eat kids, basically.
Yeah. So like in the book, I think Pennywise is actually like primordial god almost.
Basically, yes. I have read the book, and the book gets really fucking strange.
Yeah,
There's turtles. There's giant turtles.
There is.
It's something that someone who has watched the movies would never understand. But Pennywise's greatest enemy is a giant turtle.
It's weird though, because it's like, do they reference any of Stephen King's like other works in the book? Like The Man in Black or
I don't think so. Stephen King has come out on record saying that he was very high on cocaine when he wrote that book.
cocaine, LSD, you name it, he was probably on it.
Yes. That book is also long as fuck. It's a huge book.
Over 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I write books and I don't even make them that long.
No.
But yeah, Pennywise he's definitely up there for movie monsters.
Yeah.
Not as far as like maybe classic movie monsters, even though with the remake he is turning into more of a classic monster. Every year for Halloween I see tons of Pennywise costumes.
Yeah. Who is it that played Bill Skarsgård?
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Tim Curry in the original was great.
He was. I love Tim Curry.
The problem with the original is it just drags. It drags on so much.
It does. It was totally a made-for-TV movie.
Yes.
It was a made-for-TV short series. I don't think they were really expecting it to cause as much trauma to kids that watch that. To say as it did.
Remember that movie that series terrified me when I was a kid.
Yeah. It did me too. I have an imprint in my head of the scene where they're in the sewers as kids, and one of the kids gets sucked backwards through a pipe.
I remember that, yes.
Yes, that is burned in my memory. That was one of the first horror movies I watched all through.
Yeah, and it's funny thinking about it too, because it Chapter 1, the new one, I think it's a very good movie in my opinion.
Yeah.
It Chapter 2 is where everything kind of falls short for me. I think it's the same way in the original. It's like when they're kids, it's great, but when they're adults, it's just very.
And then the whole thing at the end where Pennywise becomes a giant spider. It's not very good in the original series. It's not very good in the remakes. It's a little bit better in the books, but kind of it's like the idea is that Pennywise becomes whatever you find the scariest, which is why he becomes a spider, because so many people are afraid of spiders. Yeah. As far as I could ever figure it out.
But yeah, it's like a shapeshifter, clown, evil. It's a very intriguing movie monster. We're talking about Pennywise. Have you ever seen The Terrifier? It is fucking horrible.
It's horrible?
I hate that. It's one of those movie monsters that's like they're trying too hard to make him edgy.
Okay.
And like he smears shit all over the walls of a bathroom and like uses a saw to cut a girl in half vertically upside down. It's too much. I do not like that movie at all. Another weirdly creepy one, not one that I find good or real fascinating, are Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I've never watched that movie, but I've definitely seen clips of it.
Yeah, they are, and that's a good case, because if you guys watch our videos, you know that we love practical effects. Yeah. That's a good example of practical effects gone wrong, in my opinion.
It looks the clips that I've seen, it makes it look like it was a made for TV.
They look like they're made of Play-Doh. As far as like more intriguing monsters, though, the Blob.
The Blob, yes.
that is a very unique take on a monster. I know it's been remade like several times, but as far as like a monster that's you're not gonna find anything else really like it.
No,
it just absorbs you and fucking you're dead.
I recently, while I was editing another one of our videos, that clip just popped up on YouTube, so I watched a clip of it from The Blob, or I think it was from like a 1980s one, and I found it surprising because in a lot of horror movies they don't kill kids, but in that movie a kid literally has all of his skin melted off. Yeah. And his skeleton comes back out of the water.
You want to talk about killing kids, though? Some of the kids' deaths in It Chapter 1 and 2 are fucking just brutal. But like I remember watching the Georgie like Georgie's death scene from It Chapter 1, and I remember seeing like the originals. It wasn't that bad. It was kind of dumb to me, but the remake, like. Watching the kid try to crawl away with his arm gone, and then you see the hand coming out to grab him. That bothered me, and I was a teenager when I watched it, of course, but that still, like, it bothered me.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a decent job with that one.
Yeah, and it's admittedly, like, in horror movies, especially now that I'm a dad, it's hard watching kids get offed. You know who I do think does vampires really well?
Who?
Castlevania.
Oh.
The series?
Yeah.
God, Dracula and that... I'm a huge Dracula fan, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
Dracula in Castlevania is really, really... Like, he's really interesting. He's really well done.
Okay.
In the anime. I haven't played the games.
I've never played the Castlevania games. I haven't watched the show either, so I know I need to watch it. I know that Alucard is Dracula backwards. Yeah,
and he is Dracula's son. Alucard is a very intriguing character in the Castlevania games. The anime is so insane. There's so many different creatures in it. But the vampires seem like they're at like the top of the hierarchy.
Yeah. Which
is definitely really interesting. Even like the Grim Reaper that shows up at the end of season 4's got like vampire fangs. So
vampire media there's so much vampire media.
Yeah.
There's just a lot. And it makes me sad because, as I've said, I prefer werewolves over vampires. But werewolves very rarely ever get justice. Even in Underworld, I remember watching those movies. I feel like the werewolves they're just not as...
I fucking love Underworld. But the werewolves do get done pretty dirty in Underworld. Yeah. Like I said, I love the idea of the vampire werewolf hybrid thing, and I think they executed that relatively well.
Yeah.
I love the fight scene between Michael and Victor in that movie, where fucking Michael just like shows up in Victor's face and he knocks him down, and Victor gets up, and Michael's like standing over him, and then Victor gets up really fast, and Michael's suddenly behind him. It's like he's so fast, and then he's suddenly not.
Yeah. Oh, shit. You know what's a really good Dracula versus werewolf thing? Is
Van Helsing.
Van Helsing.
Yeah.
You knew exactly where I was going with
that.
Oh,
yeah. No.
I just thought about that movie.
I think that movie is insane. I wish the special effects held up better today.
It doesn't do too bad. I love the acting in that movie. It's amazing. The opening scene where
the sad
Frankenstein...
puppy eyes with the werewolf at the end.
I love the opening scene with the town going to kill Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. And as they're like destroying the building, you hear the guy that plays Frankenstein's monster in the background, and his voice, he puts the emphasis like, what? That's the kind of acting I love to see. Is he put everything into that?
That is a very interesting movie. I enjoy the movie. I won't say that it's like a really, really good movie because it's not perfect, but it's definitely a fun movie.
Oh, I love that movie. So much fun to watch.
I love the twist with Van Helsing actually being like the Archangel Gabriel. Because that makes no sense.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
No, that movie's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I honestly, for half a second, played with putting it on my top 10 list for horror movies for half a second, and then I was like, nah, I can't be on there.
Vampires and werewolves are really like where where it's at as far as like Halloween horror goes.
Yeah.
He kind of is like, those are like the first kinds of movies I think of. One kind of werewolf short that I remember that scared the shit out of me when I was like 6 was a Goosebumps short called The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. And this is like, it's kind of a wholesome story. It's kind of not. I was horrified of that movie, and I was 6 years old. You know, the kids are really easily impressionable.
Yeah.
My dad was in Iraq when I watched it. There was one day I came home from school, and my mom was like, she brought me inside, and she was like, "Hey, Caden, go in that door," and I was like, "Okay." So I went in there, and she just slams the door behind me, and the light, it's pitch black in the room.
God.
And I'm like, I'm 6 years old, and I'm like, and then something grabbed me and just slammed me on the bed, and I'm like, what's going on? Who are you? And the person that slammed me on the bed goes, "I'm a werewolf," and I went, and I just started freaking out.
That's
and
mean.
My mom turned the lights off. It was my dad. He came home from Iraq and no one told me.
There's a movie. I love the movie because of how stupid it is, but I cannot. My wife will not watch it with me because she is absolutely terrified of spiders, and that is Eight-Legged Freaks.
Eight-Legged Freaks is pretty good.
I haven't.
You don't get a lot of giant spider movies anymore. Now they're always like,
really.
Especially like after the 1990s. If you have a giant spider in a movie, it's not like the main focus of the movie. Like, look at Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings.
Just look at this fucking poster.
Have you ever seen Big Ass Spider?
No.
It's so fucking bad. It's hilarious. I actually watched Eight-Legged Freaks recently. The special effects aren't as great as they were when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
But the movie is still funny. It is so funny.
Kind of monsters, I guess you can think of aliens being monsters. They're always treated as monsters. But Mars Attacks.
Attacks is Jack Nicholson's speech to the alien, where he's like, "Can't we all just get along?"
I always have this thing of it, of him being like, Earth and Mars.
Think of the things that we could do. Think how strong we would be. Earth and Mars together.
Hey, you want to talk alien movies? You know, it was like surprisingly, insanely dark. Was the 2005 War of the Worlds?
That was a movie I felt like I needed to watch before we did our horror list, because I kind of half thought about putting that movie on the list, but I haven't watched it since I watched it in theaters when it first came out.
Yeah, that movie. I watched some of it recently, and I don't remember how it made me feel recently, but I remember when I first watched it when I was younger. I was more unnerved than anything.
Yeah,
just everything going on. It's definitely an unnerving movie. It's definitely really, really dark.
It is. It's really dark. And then they're towards the end of the movie when they're terraforming the planet and drinking people, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what happens in the books, but it actually, like, the aliens are sillier looking in the books.
Did you know that it's actually a widespread myth about the War of the Worlds broadcast?
I did know that.
It's like this urban legend, but it never actually happened.
Yeah.
Where they were reading off the War of the Worlds and people thought it was real, and it wasn't. No, no one believed it was real. It was not mass hysteria. But it's just a thing that people talk about.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. I love urban legends like that, though. One of my favorites is the whole clown scare. Like, I know there was a lot of people doing it. Yeah. But it got to the point where people were like, "Oh, there's a clown on every street corner." It got real bad.
Yeah, it did. I remember that. I'm glad that it kind of stopped. This has been a rambly as hell video.
Yeah.
Talking about
bullshit.
Yeah, basically. Thanks for watching. Beef.
If you made it this far.
Yeah, if you did make it this far, please feel free to comment and say that you made it this far because my nose is stuffy and I'm unable to talk anymore.
Like and subscribe! Or I'll tickle you.